Welcome. I am Dwayne with the Chicago Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression. Here with me today is the president, Mr. Frank Chapman, which I'm glad to have. We've tried to have him on the show, but he's just been so busy here lately trying to get CPAC passed, and it's really a pleasure, Mr. Chapman, to have you on the show tonight.
Pleasure to be here.
Now, Frank, I just want to let the viewers know that we are trying to push CPAC, which is the Civilian Police Accountability Council. Mm-hmm. And so far we're, halfway from our goal of 100,000. We're almost nearly at 50,000 currently. We've been working hard every Saturday, such as yourself, trying to get signatures and trying to inform the community of what CPAC is. Basically, in a nutshell, it's where we would basically police the police, if you will, a civilian police accountability council, not currently, which is what in place.
Right.
If you could speak a little bit about that.
Well, yeah. Well, first of all, let me correct you on the title. I'm not the president. I'm the chairperson of the Stop Police Crimes Organizing Committee, and I'm the field organizer of the Chicago Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression, and also the educational director.
Okay.
CPAC, a all-elected Civilian Police Accountability Council, is our movement to bring about a situation where the people will be the ones who decide who polices them and how they're policed. That's not what the current situation is.
Okay.
It would be community control of the police instead of a community under the control of the police. Now, the way that we look at it is that the police, the city council, and the mayor have all abused their power, And so as a result of the abuse of their power, we are saying that the power to decide who is the police chief or who's the superintendent of police should be taken away from the mayor, put in the hands of the people. We're saying that the power that the police board presently has should also be put in the hands of the people. We're saying that the power that IPRA presently has should be put in the hands of the people. And we're saying that the internal affairs of the police department, that their power should be put in the hands of the people. So we're talking about a Civilian Police Accountability Council that has appointment powers, investigative powers, and the ability to bring about prosecutions, the ability to hold the police accountable for crimes that they commit. That's what we're talking about.
Okay. And it appears that we have a caller. Caller, are you there?
Yes, thank you for taking my call. And I wanted to make the point that I share a great many of your concerns with regard to the behavior, certainly of the Chicago Police Department over a great many years, and their abusive tendencies, especially with regard to certain communities. At the same time, I am somewhat hesitant with regard to the structure of an civilian oversight board, without more specifics. I would not be in favor of a civilian oversight board that included no one with any law enforcement background. The idea that we could simply gather together a dozen citizens that never spent one day as police officers and have them oversee policing in a city like Chicago is like putting people in charge of surgery at a hospital that never spent a day in medical school or served as a nurse or doctor. I think that what we need is a balanced approach where we have citizens, we have people who served on the judiciary, people who served in law enforcement, people who understand the law. All of these sorts of groups need to be represented, but we can't simply have, as I said, an elected or shall we say selected group of civilians who have never had any background in law enforcement overseeing how law enforcement is done, because that simply doesn't make any sense. They have no training, and yet they're going to assess how we're going to police, which doesn't make any sense from a logical standpoint.
That's a very good question. I would like to respond first, Frank.
Go ahead.
The current policy that we have in place is not working. So, I'm not going to say that anything would be better than that, but, just talking in regards to what the caller just spoke about, having civilians, I mean, the current policy that they have in IMPRA is not working. So,
and that's why you're absolutely correct in that we need a new method to police. But by the same token, we don't want to substitute one bad system with another. And my argument is, again, this notion, as it's often said, the devil is in the details. So again, how do we create a balanced group of people who oversee the police in this city? Again, making sure that civilians and community members are represented, but also making sure that people who understand the law, because keep in mind, police enforce the laws that the legislature passes in the state of Illinois. The police don't create the laws. And so the question is then, can a police oversight board mandate to police how they're supposed to enforce laws that the legislature has passed? And again, this is why we need representation from, for instance, the law, people who are commensurate with an understanding of constitutional law, the people who have background in law enforcement, local community organizations, local community members. All of these things need to be represented. Otherwise, we're only going to end up, again, substituting, I think, one bad system for another system that doesn't work.
Very interesting question.
Well,
I'll let you go ahead and respond.
Yeah. It's not. Well, let's put the debate on the right track, because we're not talking about oversight or overseeing the police. We're talking about control. We're talking about having power, and we're talking about that power. If we live in a democratic society, then the police don't have power over the community. The community has power over the police. Now, if you want a society where the police have power over the community, then that is known as a police state. Mm-hmm. We do not want that. We have an inalienable democratic right as a people to determine who polices our communities and how our communities are policed. Now, that is a right that the people have. The police are public servants. They don't make the law, we make the law. So we're talking about getting a law passed that will empower our people to do this. Once we get this law passed, then there's no debate. The police got to go by the law. And not only that, with regard to black people,
we elected the people.
I did not interrupt you, sir. I did not interrupt you when you were giving your presentation. I'd like to have an opportunity to state what our position is. Now, can I have that opportunity?
No, go right ahead, as long as I can respond.
Yeah, well, we're not going to deprive you the right to respond. I don't want you to deprive me. The thing that we're saying is that we have a democratic right to control who polices our community and how our communities are policed. Now, let me deal with that in a concrete way. We have a right to say that we do not want racist police officers policing our communities. We have a right to say that. We have a right to say that we don't want people policing our communities who are doing an ineffective job, where the crime rate is steadily going up, where 71% of the homicides in our communities are unsolved. That's ineffective policing. We need to have a voice in how our communities are policed and who polices them. And that voice needs to be decisive. In other words, we pay the costs with our tax dollars, and we should be the boss. That's what we're saying here. We're not talking about policing as a profession. We're talking about who controls the policing. Mm-hmm. And the people in the community have a right to do that. The people out in Palatine, they control the policing in their community. We should have the same right to control the police in our community.
And in that regard, we have elected the people in this state who passed the laws which define how the police conduct their jobs. So we have already done that in the state of Illinois. The people of the state of Illinois elected those people.
Well, we're saying that they have abused their power, mm-hmm. like they did during Jim Crow, like they did during slavery. They have abused their power because they have allowed the police to engage in racist practices and whatnot. And instead of prosecuting them and bringing them to the bar for their crimes, what they have been doing, they have been excusing and justifying the police, as was done in the Laquan McDonald case.
Who is they?
It's a perfect example.
Who is they?
The powers that be. I'm talking about the mayor, the city council, them people that you're talking about.
Oh, you mean the
Those elected officials that you just referred to. That's the they.
You just said the democratic process. The city council that we elected and the mayor that we elected. That's what you're talking about. So
Yes.
The people spoke when they put those people in office.
Yes. That's why we have a right to unelect them, and that's why we have a right to change the laws, so that we are better served. You know, just like we had the right to change Jim Crow laws, like we had the right to change the law.
That's why we have elections.
I beg your pardon?
Yes, that's why we have elections. I mean,
we're not talking about not having elections. We're talking about having an election. We're talking about electing we're talking about an all-elected civilian police accountability council. That would be an election.
I'm asking you, is it a good idea to have a all-elected civilian review council that has...
We got over 40,000 people in Chicago who thinks it's a good idea for us to have an all-elected civilian police accountability council. That's our support base.
What would that council look like? In other words, it would be a bunch of people who never had any experience in law enforcement. That would be a good idea in your mind.
Yeah, we're talking about who's going to be in control of the law enforcement. Yeah, that would be a good idea in my mind.
So do you think that it's a good idea that a bunch of people who have never had a day of experience or training or education in law enforcement should be overseeing the Chicago Police Department? You think that would be
absolutely. The mayor, as things now stand, the mayor can fire the police chief. He hasn't had any experience in law enforcement, but he can fire the police chief.
The police chief doesn't have any experience in law enforcement.
No, I said the mayor. The mayor can fire the police chief. The mayor can appoint who he wants to appoint on these different bodies, and the mayor has not had any experience in law enforcement.
Right, absolutely. That's why.
And so we're not talking about experience in law enforcement. We're talking about people making bad political decisions.
If you remember, the way in which the current chief was elected was by bypassing the existing system. The mayor doesn't simply get to appoint a police chief. There's a protocol that the mayor has to observe and that person has to be screened by the Chicago City Council.
Sir, we're talking about two different things. We're on totally two different tracks. You're talking about a process in the abstract. We're talking a process in terms of one that will serve the people instead of the one that will harm the people. The prison system that we have in Chicago, the prison criminal justice system that we have in this city, is harming our people. We want to change that. And we have a democratic right to fight for those changes.
But again, going back to the point, we don't want to change one bad system by substituting it with another bad system.
We're not talking about replacing one bad system by another. That's what you're saying. We're talking about replacing a system that is a tyrannical, corrupt, criminal system. We're talking about changing that system to give the people who are the victims of that system power over their police. That's what we're talking about doing.
Yes, but who will be those people? Again, someone with not an outfit. This is why we have people who hold doctoral degrees in criminal justice. That's why they have some knowledge about the field. So we're going to take someone with a GED.
Well, sir, democracy is not based on experts, but democracy is based on the people rule.
We have another.
We live in a constitutional republic. We don't have direct democracy. There's a reason why we have.
Okay, well you're in favor of a police system that comes under no democratic controls. That's your prerogative. We're in favor of one that comes under democratic controls. That's our prerogative.
Thanks for your.
We're going to be fighting for ours.
Thanks for your call, caller. We have another caller. Caller, are you there? Hello.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. How are you?
Everybody around, they talk about the silence of the police. It's the people around the mayor also. Like now, he just made a multi-million-dollar deal with the Chinese to construction, and not one Hispanic, not one African American company got a piece of that.
Mm-hmm.
We need good jobs. We need good paying jobs. and that was a start. We got to start doing something besides marching. We've marched for the last 50 years, and it just keeps getting worse. We need to get out to that mayor, tell him why we think he should be out of office, because he doesn't care about it. That's why all these people are getting killed. They had no jobs. And now they got a big old job here in Chicago, and guess what? The African American and the Hispanic are out of it. So, you know what? Let's start thinking with our heads, okay? Let's start putting the people in there that need to be put in there, and that includes replacing a lot of the ones that are with the mayor. Okay? Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks for your call. Thanks
well,
for your call.
we have no qualm with that. You know, that's another expression of our democratic rights. We have no qualm with challenging the status quo, no matter where it exists or under what circumstances it exists. You know, our issue right now in terms of community control of the police was brought to this point by the fact that we have a system in Chicago that is corrupt and that has been costing us millions of dollars, and not to mention human life.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's intolerable. We can't go on like this. We got to change this.
Right.
And we have a right as a people to change it. And we're going to change it. So we're not just protesting and marching and raising hell. We also have a bill in the city council. It's called Civilian Police Accountability Ordinance. Okay, and it's bill number 0216-5707. It's in the safety committee at this point. Now, we need to get that bill out of committee, get it on the floor, and get it voted on. When they had these so-called hearings over the last several weeks, our bill was not discussed except if we brought it up. You know, the members of the city council did not present our bill to the public, although they knew it was in the chamber. They only presented the mayor's bill, the one that they're trying to push now. So the city council and the mayor, not all of the city council, because we have 8 members of the city council that support our bill, and we're trying to get more. But for the most part, the city council and the mayor are working to get reforms put in that don't really change anything, because it leaves the power in the hands of City Hall. It leaves the power in the hands of the very same people who created this problem in the first place. And we're saying that they have abused that power, and now the people should be given the opportunity to step up. And that's why we want CPAC, because CPAC will empower the people to hold the police accountable for the crimes that they commit.
Well, Frank, tell the viewers who would benefit from CPAC? Who benefits from CPAC? I mean, is it just taking the control out of the police board, or, I mean, who benefits from CPAC?
Our communities benefit.
Okay.
Our communities benefit because until these police officers are prosecuted, when they commit crimes like murder, I'm talking about on video, they kill people.
Laquan McDonald.
You know, Laquan McDonald.
Perfect example.
Flint Farmer. And over 100 other videos that have come out. Now, until we start holding them accountable for these crimes, you know, then it's a definite harm to our community. Police crimes are related to all crimes. You can't have criminals in the community talking about putting down crime. That's a contradiction, you know.
Big contradiction.
So if you want, if we want the crime problem and the homicidal rates and all that stuff to go down in our community, then we need effective policing that we have control over. You know, in fact, we may not, in a lot of areas, we may not even need no policing at all. You know, so this is a decision that the people have to make, and it's our democratic right to make it.
Okay, and Frank, why have you been involved with the Alliance so long? I mean, what drives you to do what you do?
When I first became involved with this organization, when I was a prisoner many years ago, in fact, I just celebrated this year my 40th anniversary in being released from prison. I was a wrongfully convicted person. I spent 14 years in the Missouri State Penitentiary, and it was this organization and the movement to bring about social change, the movement against racism and whatnot that was going on during the 60s and the 70s that got me out of prison. And when I got out, I made a decision to help others like they helped me, and I joined the movement. I joined the National Alliance Against Racism and Political Repression, and I have been a member and a fighter in this organization ever since. When our organization was founded here in Chicago back in 1973, it was right in the wake of two horrendous political assassinations. That was the murder of Fred Hampton and the murder of Mark Clark, two members of the Black Panther Party. That was a terrible police crime that had been committed. And the FBI and the Chicago Police Department were involved in that crime, and we found that to be the case because later on, during the COINTELPRO investigations by the United States Congress, this information came out and was made public. You know, so Fred Hampton and Mark Clark were victims of police crimes, and we knew right then that we had to deal with this problem, or it was going to become a more serious problem, and more black people, particularly young militant black people, young black people who were taking on the system, were going to be murdered. And so that's why we first took this issue up back in 1973. Since then, we've seen a situation where even in the absence of a militant social movement, the police have been out of control in terms of killing mainly young black males, but also women, people of different sexual preferences. They've been out of control, and so we feel like until we deal with this problem, we're not going to make very much social progress in dealing with any of the other problems.
Right. So now, Frank, tomorrow we're going to have what? What's happening tomorrow?
Tomorrow we're going to have a press conference at 9 a.m. in the morning at City Hall, where we are protesting the mayor's legislative proposal for COPA, a civilian oversight of police authority or whatever it is, and we're protesting against that, and we are protesting for CPAC. So we will be down there tomorrow to express our views and to express our demands. And after the protest, we will have after the press conference, we will have a protest teach-in where we will teach people about what the bill actually provides for the people, and who the sponsors of the bill are, and things that we can be doing to get this bill passed into law.
And that's going to be tomorrow. So, Frank, do we need a lot? How many people? I mean, do we need people to come out?
We need everybody that can come out to come out. I realize some people will be working that they can't come out. So if you're not working, if you can come out, please come out. If you belong to an organization, delegate some of your members to come out. We have over 100 different organizations in the city of Chicago who support this legislation. So please come out and join us so we can get this bill passed into law.
Well, Mr. Chapman, I really appreciate you joining us tonight. It's really been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And we hope to see you tomorrow, and that's going to be at 9 o'clock a.m.
9 o'clock a.m.
9 o'clock a.m. City Hall.
Yes.
Come let your voice be heard, and come do something about it. I mean, we see all of this going on every day, and we need to do something about it. So here's your chance.
Absolutely.
So just come on out.
Absolutely.